The great throne room of the Varix Empire was a vast chamber made of shining crystal walls that reflected light like 1,000 stars. At the far end sat Empress Kalora on her high throne. She was tall and proud, her skin a shimmering blue with silver markings that showed her noble blood. Her eyes were sharp and fierce. Round her stood her closest advisors and generals. The room was quiet but full of tension. Kalora had just received a report that made her blood boil. A small group of human ships had attacked and destroyed one of her empire's most powerful warships. The human fleet was tiny compared to the vast Varix armada, but they had managed to kill many Varix warriors and break the rules of engagement. To Kalora, this was not just a battle, it was an insult to the honor of her empire. Her voice echoed as she spoke, cold and clear. How dare these humans attack us? They are nothing but a primitive species. This act will not go unanswered. Her chief advisor, a tall, thin figure named Tharos, bowed his head. Your Majesty, the humans acted in self-defense. Their ship was cornered, and they had no choice but to fight. Kalora's eyes flashed with anger. Self-defense or not, they destroyed a warship built over a century. The Varix do not forgive such disrespect. Round the room, her generals murmured. The Varix Empire was known for its military strength and control over many star systems. They had never been challenged by any species before. Now, these humans were daring to fight back. This was a challenge to her authority. One of the generals stepped forward. Empress, we have the means to respond. Our fleets are ready. We can show the humans the true power of the Varix. Kalora nodded slowly, her face hardening. Prepare the fleets. I will command the assembly of 1,000 warships. Let this be a warning to all who think to oppose us. Her decision sent a wave of excitement through her commanders. The idea of mobilizing such a massive force was bold. Many in the council had warned against rushing to war, but Kalora was determined. To her, strength was the only answer. Meanwhile, far from the Varix Empire, in the orbit above Earth, humanity was also waking to the news of the incident. Commander Reeves stood on the bridge of the Orbital Command Center, looking out at the blue planet below. The Earth was calm, peaceful. But in space, danger was growing. An urgent message had just arrived. A Varix warship was destroyed near the outer colonies after an unexpected attack by a human exploration group. Reeves' eyes narrowed as he listened to the report. The humans had acted quickly to protect themselves when the Varix ship threatened them. It was a small battle, but the consequences would be large. In the conference room, Admiral Lin gathered the leaders of the United Earth Defense Command. We face a serious threat, she said. The Varix will not forget this attack. They will respond with force. We must prepare for the worst. The council was tense. Many remembered stories of the Varix Empire's conquests, how they had crushed weaker species with ease. But the humans were different. They had a stubborn spirit and refused to bow to any alien power. Admiral Lin continued. We have begun building new supercarriers, massive ships that carry hundreds of fighters and weapons. It is time to bring them into service. We must show the galaxy that humanity is ready to defend itself. Commander Reeve nodded. Our colonies and outposts must be protected. We will not wait for the Varix to strike first. The leaders agreed to mobilize all available resources. Shipyards on Mars, Titan, and the asteroid belt worked around the clock. Engineers and workers raced to complete the mighty Titan-class supercarriers that had been in development for years back on Varix. Empress Kalora watched the stars from her palace balcony. Her mind was filled with plans of conquest and victory. She believed that with her 1,000 ships, she could crush the humans before they became a real threat. But deep inside, a small part of her wondered if this war might be harder than she imagined. In human space, the first supercarriers were coming to life. Powerful engines roared as they left the docks. The massive ships were like floating cities, carrying thousands of crew members, fighters, and weapons. Commander Reeve inspected one of the largest, the Atlas Dawn, impressed by its strength and speed. This ship will be the heart of our defense, he told his officers. We will protect humanity, no matter what the cost. At the same time, messages from other alien species began to arrive at Earth. Some sent warnings, urging peace, others watched with curiosity and fear. Knowing that a great conflict was about to shake the galaxy, the tension grew as to powerful forces prepared for war. Empress Outraged's 1,000 warships and humanity's supercarriers were ready to move. The question was simple: who would strike first? And what would be the cost of this battle for the stars? The fate of many worlds now rested on the courage and will of a few. Humans and Variks stood at the edge of a conflict that could change everything. Neither side was willing to back down, and so the stage was set for a great clash, a story of pride, power, and the fierce determination of humanity to stand tall among the stars. The United Earth Defense Command building floated quietly in orbit above Earth. Its wide windows showed the blue planet spinning slowly below. Inside, a large conference room buzzed with activity. Leaders from Earth's military and civilian branches had gathered to discuss the growing threat from the Variks Empire. Commander Reed stood at the head of the long table. His uniform was simple but carried the marks of many battles. He looked serious and calm, but inside he felt the weight of responsibility. Every decision made here would affect billions of lives. The large screen on the wall displayed the latest news. Images showed the Variks warship wreckage near a human colony on the edge of explored space. The small human fleet had fought hard to defend themselves. They had succeeded, but the cost was high. Now, the Variks Empire was gathering fleets, signaling their plan to respond with force. Admiral Lin, the highest-ranking officer in the room, spoke clearly. The Variks will not accept this loss quietly. They have begun mobilizing their armada. Intelligence reports suggest their fleets will be ready in less than a month. A murmur spread across the room. Many of the leaders had hoped the incident would not lead to war. Now, they knew it was unavoidable. Reeve raised his hand to quiet the room. We must act quickly. Our colonies, our people, cannot wait. The Variks have strength, but humanity has something they cannot match: unity and determination. One of the council members, a woman named Mara, spoke up. Our shipyards have been working on new supercarriers for years. They are the most powerful vessels we have ever built. If we can complete them and deploy them, we can create a strong defense line. Admiral Lin nodded. The Titan-class supercarriers are nearly ready. We must accelerate their deployment. They carry hundreds of fighters, advanced weapons, and shields far stronger than anything before. Reeve looked around the table. It is not just about defense. We must send a message to the galaxy. Humans will not bow to anyone. If the Variks choose war, we will meet them with our full power. The council agreed to increase production. Plans were made to mobilize engineers, workers, and pilots across human space. Mars shipyards extended their shifts, and orbital factories launched supplies non-stop. On Titan and in the asteroid belt, construction crews raced to finish the massive ships. At the same time, training programs were expanded. Young pilots eager to protect their home volunteered in large numbers. The United Earth Defense Command opened new academies to prepare them for the coming battle. Commander Reeve traveled between space stations and colonies, speaking to crews and officers. This is our moment, he told them. Our history has led to this day. We must stand together or fall divided. Far away on the Variks side, Empress Outraged's anger grew. News from her spies revealed the humans were not afraid. Their determination surprised even her. She ordered her generals to increase ship production as well. The Variks industrial planets responded with a feverish rush, building warships day and night. But the humans had an advantage that few aliens understood. Their technology was newer, but their spirit was stronger. They had faced dangers on Earth, and in their early space history that had made them tough and adaptable. Back in the human conference room, Mara laid out a detailed plan. Our supercarriers will form the backbone of our defense. Each carrier will lead a squadron of fighters and support ships. They will protect colonies, trade routes, and military outposts. Reeve listened carefully. We must also prepare for a long conflict. The Variks may not back down easily. Our forces must be ready for sustained battle. Admiral Lin added, We are also reaching out to other species. Some have sent warnings. Others want to stay neutral. We will need allies if this war grows, Reeves. Face grew serious. Humanity stands alone for now. But if others join us, it will only make us stronger. The galaxy will learn that humans are united like no other species. The Council spent hours discussing tactics, supplies, and strategies. They knew this war would be different. It was not just about firepower, but about willpower and courage. Outside the conference room, the stars seemed calm and quiet. But in space, fleets were gathering. Hundreds of shipyards worked day and night, sending new vessels into orbit. Pilots trained in zero-gravity simulators. Soldiers prepared for deployment. On Earth, civilians watched the news with growing concern. Some feared the war would bring destruction. Others believed in humanity's strength and resilience. Across the world, people prayed for peace but prepared for battle. Commander Reeve returned to the bridge of the Orbital Command Center. He looked at the fleet status screen. The first of the Titan-class supercarriers had left their docks. Soon, hundreds more would follow. He took a deep breath and said, "This is only the beginning. The galaxy will see what humanity can do when pushed to the edge." Meanwhile, the Verix Empire tightened its grip. Empress Kaelora addressed her commanders once again. "We will teach the humans respect. Our 1,000 warships will move against them with unstoppable force." Her generals bowed. "We will not fail, Your Majesty." The Verix fleets began moving from their home worlds toward the border systems. Sensor arrays detected the movement across light years of space. The galaxy held its breath. In human space, the newly formed supercarrier fleets made their final preparations. Commanders issued orders to all ships. Pilots checked their weapons. Engineers ran last-minute systems tests. Commander Reeves stood before his officers. "This will be the greatest test humanity has ever faced. Our unity and strength will decide the future. Fight not just for Earth, but for every colony and every life that calls space home." His words inspired hope and courage. As the two forces prepared for the inevitable clash, the galaxy watched. Neither side wanted war, but both were ready to fight. The Verix Empress's outrage had sparked a fire. Humanity's resolve had turned that fire into a roaring blaze. The 1,000 supercarriers were on the move. The stars were about to shine with the light of an epic battle. In the far reaches of the solar system, in massive shipyards carved into the icy moons of Jupiter and Saturn, the first of the Titan-class supercarriers began to stir. These gigantic vessels had been silent giants for many years, waiting for the day when humanity would call them to action. Now that day had come. The shipyards were buzzing with activity. Engineers and workers hurried through corridors, checking every system. Giant cranes lifted massive components into place. The sound of machinery filled the air. These supercarriers were not like any ordinary ship. They were floating fortresses, each one large enough to hold a small city. Commander Reeves stood on the observation deck of the Atlas Dawn, the lead supercarrier of the new fleet. The ship's hull gleamed under the bright lights. It was a symbol of human strength and resilience. Inside, thousands of crew members prepared for the mission ahead. Reeve looked out at the massive hangar bays. Rows of sleek fighter ships were lined up, ready for launch. These fighters would form the front line of defense. Behind them, the carrier's powerful railguns and missile systems hummed with energy, waiting for orders. The supercarrier's shield generators cast a soft blue glow. These shields were the most advanced in human history. They could absorb powerful energy blasts and protect the ship from enemy attacks. Engineers tested the shields continuously, making sure they were ready. Across the ship, the crew moved with purpose. Pilots trained in simulators, practicing maneuvers and combat tactics. Marines prepared their equipment and studied battle plans. Every person knew the importance of their role. Captain Laura, a seasoned officer, approached Commander Reeve. "The crew is ready, sir. Systems are operating at full capacity. The Atlas Dawn is prepared for deployment." Reeve nodded. "Good. This ship will be the heart of our fleet. Its strength and speed will give us an edge against the Verix." Elsewhere, on other supercarriers scattered across the solar system, similar scenes unfolded. On Mars, the Solar Guardian roared to life. Its engines powered up with a deep, steady hum. On Titan, the Celestial Shield prepared for launch. Its hangars filled with fighters and support ships. Each supercarrier was a masterpiece of engineering and human will. Together, they formed a shield that could protect humanity's colonies and challenge the might of the Verix Empire. As the days passed, the supercarriers began to leave their docks. One by one, they rose from their dry docks, engines glowing bright as they lifted into space. Their size amazed even veteran spacefarers from a distance. They looked like giant stars moving slowly through the darkness. Commander Reeve and his officers coordinated the movements carefully. Communications buzzed across the fleet as ships linked together. They formed squadrons, then fleets. Every ship had a role to play. The human armada was growing. Soon, 1,000 supercarriers would be moving in perfect formation. It was a sight that had never been seen before in the galaxy. On the bridge of the Atlas Dawn, Reed studied the tactical maps. Sensors scanned the surrounding space for any signs of Verix fleets. So far, the skies were clear. "Keep the pilots ready," he ordered. "We may need them at any moment." His second-in-command, Lieutenant Harris, reported, "All systems are stable, sir. The crews are confident and well-prepared." Reeve allowed himself a brief smile. The courage of these men and women was inspiring. They knew the risks, but did not hesitate. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly. The vastness of space was both beautiful and dangerous. It reminded Reeve of the stakes. Failure was not an option. Meanwhile, on Verix worlds, Empress watched with growing frustration. She knew the humans were awakening their might. The supercarriers were no longer silent. They moved like giants across the stars. "Prepare our fleets," she commanded. "We will meet them with all our strength." Her generals bowed and left to carry out the orders. The Verix were proud and fierce warriors. They would not back down. Back with the humans, training continued even as the ships moved. Pilots practiced formation flying, launching fighters and coordinated attacks. Engineers ran drills to repair damage quickly. Marines trained for boarding actions and close combat. The human crews learned to work together like a well-oiled machine. Trust and teamwork were as important as weapons and shields. One day, Commander Reeve held a briefing for his senior officers. "The Verix will test us," he said. "Their numbers are great, but we have advantage in technology and willpower. We must use our speed, our strategy, and our courage," Captain Laura added. "We fight not just to survive, but to show that humanity will not be pushed aside. This fleet is the symbol of our determination." Reeve nodded in agreement. "We stand for every colony, every home, every life that depends on us. We are the defenders of Earth and the future." The officers left the briefing with renewed resolve. They knew the coming days would be hard, but they were ready. As the human supercarriers moved closer to the Verix border, the galaxy watched. Messages from other species arrived, some offering cautious support, others warning of disaster. The stage was set for a great confrontation. The supercarriers, with their fighters and crews, sailed through the void like ancient giants awakened from slumber. Each ship carried the hopes of humanity and the promise of a new chapter in galactic history. Commander Reeve stood on the observation deck once more, looking at the stars. He whispered, "We are ready." The battle for respect, for survival, and for the future was about to begin. The vast emptiness of space stretched endlessly before the fleets. The silent darkness was filled with tension. Both the Verix Empire's warships and humanity's supercarriers moved slowly, carefully, toward the border where the two forces would meet. The galaxy watched as these great powers prepared for a conflict that could change everything. In the command center of the Atlas Dawn, Commander Reeve sat before a large holographic display. It showed the positions of hundreds of ships, human and alien alike. Communications officers worked quickly, sending and receiving messages across light years. The air was thick with anticipation. "Sir," Lieutenant Harris said, "we are receiving signals from several neutral species. Some want to stay out of this conflict. Others are watching closely. A few are even sending offers of alliance." Reeve nodded. "Open communications. We must show the galaxy that humanity seeks peace, but will defend itself. Outside the windows, the great armada of supercarriers and escort ships glittered like a line of stars. Their engines hummed softly, ready to spring into action. Meanwhile, across the stars, the Verix fleets moved with purpose. Empress Outraged's command ship led the procession. The enormous warships were armed with powerful weapons and thick armor. They carried thousands of warriors, ready for battle. Verix officers spoke in their sharp, clipped language. The humans have brought many ships. Their technology is impressive, but they lack the discipline of the Verix. One young commander looked uneasy. The humans fight with passion. They are unpredictable. That is dangerous. Kaler's voice came over the comms. We will crush their spirit. Our fleets will not fail. Prepare for the meeting point at the Dorian Rift. The Dorian Rift was a swirling field of gravity storms and cosmic debris. It was a dangerous place for any battle, but it was also the natural border between Verix space and human territories. As both forces approached the rift, tensions rose. Every captain and crew member knew that this moment could decide the fate of the galaxy. On Earth, news channels broadcast live updates. People everywhere watched with a mix of fear and hope. Governments prepared emergency plans. Citizens stocked supplies and made plans to protect their families. Back on the Atlas Dawn, Reeves sent a message across the armada. All captains, prepare for final formation. We move as one. The human fleet began to organize. Supercarriers took their positions. Escort ships spread out to guard the flanks. Fighter squadrons lined up on the decks, engines ready to roar. Reeves' voice was steady as he addressed his officers. We do not seek war, but we will meet force with force. Stay alert. Trust your training and protect each other. As the fleets drew closer to the rift, the first signs of the Verix appeared on the sensors. Hundreds of warships appeared, their weapons glowing faintly. The Verix armada was massive, but the humans held their formation tightly. Suddenly, a communication channel opened. It was Empress Outraged herself, her voice calm but commanding. Humans, you have brought many ships to my doorstep. Surrender now, and we may show mercy. Reeves stood and replied firmly, Empress Outraged, humanity does not bow. We seek respect and peace, but we will defend ourselves with all our strength. The galaxy held its breath as silence followed. Neither side moved to attack. Instead, the human supercarriers slowly advanced into the Dorian Rift. Their fighters launched in perfect formation, creating a shining wave of light against the dark background of space. The sight was both beautiful and terrifying. Verix officers exchanged nervous glances. The humans were fearless and organized. They moved with a purpose that was hard to challenge. As the fleets reached the heart of the rift, sensor readings showed the dangers around them. Gravity storms twisted and churned. Debris fields shifted unpredictably. Navigating this area required skill and courage. Reeves' voice came over the comms. Stay focused. Use the environment to our advantage. Human pilots adjusted their routes, weaving through the storms with precision. The Verix, less familiar with the rift, struggled to maintain formation. Messages from other species arrived on the human network. Many sent warnings about the dangers ahead. Others expressed admiration for humanity's boldness. One message from the Dralax Federation read, humans have surprised us all. Their courage may change the balance of power. Reeve felt a surge of pride. Humanity was proving itself not just with weapons, but with will and skill. Meanwhile, Empress Outraged studied the unfolding scene. The humans had moved deeper into the rift than she expected. Their supercarriers formed an unbroken line, fighters buzzing like swarms of hornets. This is no ordinary force, she said quietly. They fight with unity and strength. We must not underestimate them. Her generals nodded, but tension filled the room. The Verix pride was challenged for the first time in generations. The standoff continued for hours. Neither side fired a shot, but the threat was clear. The slightest mistake could ignite a war that would destroy entire star systems. Commander Reeve watched his fleet carefully. Every captain was ready to act at a moment's notice. The human armada was a force built not just on technology, but on trust and determination. As night fell on Earth, people looked up at the stars, knowing their future was linked to these fleets. Far away, Reeves sent one final message before the fleets held their positions. We stand for peace and respect. Let this moment be a test of will, not destruction. The galaxy waited, the silence deep and full of promise. The next move would decide the fate of many worlds. The Dorian Rift was unlike any place in the galaxy. It was a wild region where gravity storms twisted space, and debris from ancient collisions floated unpredictably to most. It was dangerous and avoided, but now it was the chosen battleground. For its great powers, the human armada advanced carefully, their massive supercarriers cutting through the stormy expanse. Commander Reeves stood on the bridge of the Atlas Dawn, watching the swirling clouds of energy and rock outside the thick, reinforced windows. The Verix warships were visible on the sensors. Their numbers were greater than any fleet the humans had faced before. Thousands of Verix vessels moved in formation, their weapons charged and ready. Empress Kaler's voice rang out across the open communication channel. Her tone was cold, but firm. Humans, this is your last chance. Surrender your fleets and avoid destruction. You cannot win against the Verix. Reeves stood tall and replied without hesitation. Empress Kalora, humanity does not surrender. We fight for our homes, our families, and our future. We will meet your fleet with courage and strength. The tension in the command center was thick. Crew members held their breath as both armadas drifted closer. The space between them was filled with charged energy and silent threats. Suddenly, the Verix flagship moved forward. Breaking formation, it sent a pulse of energy that tested the human shield lines. The shields of the Atlas Dawn flared brightly, absorbing the blast without damage. Lieutenant Harris reported, "Shields holding, sir. No damage detected." Reeve nodded. "Maintain position. Do not return fire unless ordered." The standoff lasted for hours. Both sides tested each other's defenses, sending waves of fighters and scouts to probe for weaknesses. The gravity storms of the rift made movement difficult, but the humans used their knowledge of the area to their advantage. Captain Laura directed fighter squadrons with calm authority. Keep tight formations. Watch for Verix ambushes. Use the debris for cover. The human pilots moved with skill and precision, darting through asteroid fields and energy storms. The Verix were strong, but less familiar with the dangerous environment. At one point, a Verix destroyer tried to flank the human fleet by diving through a narrow gap between two massive asteroids. Human fighters intercepted quickly, forcing the destroyer to retreat. Reeves' voice came over the comms. "Good work. Stay alert." The crews worked together like a single mind, responding to threats and supporting each other. The supercarriers formed a protective shield around the smaller ships and fighters. Meanwhile, Empress Kalora grew frustrated. The humans were not breaking. Their shields held firm. Their pilots were fearless. The Verix pride was wounded by this. Resistance. Her generals urged her to press the attack, but she hesitated. She had not expected such strength or unity from the humans. "We will not win this by force alone," she said quietly. "Perhaps there is another way." Back with the humans, Commander Reeve called a meeting with his top officers. "We must be ready for anything. The Verix may try to force us into battle, or they may seek a different path." Captain Laura agreed. Their pride will not allow them to back down easily. "But if we show strength and control, we may avoid needless bloodshed." Reeve nodded. "Our goal is peace, but we must be prepared to fight. Humanity's future depends on it." As the fleets held position, fighters continued to patrol the rift. Engineers repaired minor damage and maintained weapons systems. The tension was high, but so was the resolve. Suddenly, the Verix flagship opened a new channel. Empress Kalora spoke again, but this time her voice was different. "Human Commander, you have proven your strength. I see that your people will not be easily defeated." Reeve responded cautiously. "Empress Kalora, we do not seek war. We seek respect and peace. Let us find a way to avoid destruction." There was silence. Then Kalora said, "Very well. We will withdraw our forces, but this is only a temporary truce. Humanity must prove itself worthy of its place in the galaxy. Reeve allowed himself a small smile. We accept your challenge. Humanity will show the galaxy our strength and honor. The Verix fleet slowly began to pull back from the rift. The tension eased. But the memory of the standoff remained. On Earth, people celebrated the news of the truce, but they knew it was fragile. The war had not ended. It had only paused. Commander Reeve stood on the observation deck of the Atlas Dawn, watching the stars. This is just the beginning, he said softly. Humanity will rise, and the galaxy will never forget. The 1,000 Supercarriers began their slow journey back to their home docks, carrying with them the hopes of all who believed in peace and strength. The battle had not been won, but humanity had proven it could stand against the mightiest empire in the stars. The galaxy held its breath as the great fleets hovered near the Dorian Rift. The fierce tension from the earlier standoff had not faded. Both the Verix Empire and humanity knew that peace was fragile, and the next move could bring disaster or hope. Commander Reeve stood on the bridge of the Atlas Dawn, watching the slow advance of the human armada. The 1,000 Supercarriers and their escort ships moved forward with quiet purpose. Their engines hummed softly, like a great river flowing steadily toward the unknown. Reeve's eyes scanned the star-filled void, the gravity storms of the rift. Twisted and turned ahead, dangerous to navigate but full of opportunity. The humans had trained hard for this moment. They knew every hidden path and safe passage. Hold formation, Reeve ordered. Maintain shield integrity and keep fighter squadrons ready. This is our moment to show strength without starting a war. Captain Laura stood beside him. Our fleet looks strong. The Verix will see that we mean business. Across the fleet, pilots prepared their fighters. They ran final checks and simulations. The silence was almost complete, broken only by the hum of engines and soft commands. Lieutenant Harris spoke quietly. Sir, our sensors show the Verix watching closely. They have not moved forward since their withdrawal. Reeve nodded. Good. Let them see what humanity can do when united. The human fleet began to move slowly into the heart of the Dorian Rift. Thousands of fighters launched in unison, their lights creating a moving wave across the dark space. The sight was breathtaking, a river of light flowing through the storms. The Verix watched from their positions, uneasy. Their sensors could not fully understand the humans' calm confidence. The vast scale of the supercarrier fleet was clear. It was a warning no one could ignore. Empress Outraged sat in her command chamber, her face thoughtful. The humans had shown them power, but also control. They had not fired a single shot since the standoff. Their strength was silent but undeniable. We must be cautious, she said to her generals. They have strength, yes, but also wisdom. We must decide our next step carefully. Her officers nodded. Some wished to attack again. Others saw the value of patience. Back with the humans. The fleet moved deeper into the dangerous rift. Pilots weaved through gravity storms, guided by expert navigators. The supercarriers adjusted shields to protect from the harsh environment. Commander Reeve sent a message to all captains. This advance is a signal. We show that humanity will not be pushed back. We seek peace but stand ready for any challenge. On one carrier, a young pilot named Yelen prepared for a patrol mission. He felt the weight of history on his shoulders. His squadron leader reminded him, "We fly for all of humanity. Stay sharp and watch each other's backs." Yelen nodded, gripping his controls. As his fighter launched, he looked back at the glowing hull of the Atlas Dawn. The strength of the fleet gave him courage. Across the fleet, thousands of pilots shared the same feeling. They were part of something greater, force united by hope and determination. Meanwhile, on the Verix side, whispers of respect for the humans grew among the lower ranks. Some warriors admitted they underestimated their opponents. One Verix officer said quietly, "These humans fight with honor and calm. They are not like other enemies we have faced." Empress Outraged listened but kept her pride. She knew the war was not over. But this silent advance had changed the game. Back on Earth, news of the human fleet's movement inspired people everywhere. Schools and cities broadcast messages of unity and strength. Families cheered for the brave men and women in space. Commander Reeve met with his senior officers to plan the next steps. We have shown restraint and power. The galaxy watches us now. We must be ready for whatever comes next. Captain Laura agreed. Our ships and crews are strong. We will defend humanity and stand for peace. As the fleet moved through the rift, the stars seemed to watch silently. The coming days would decide the future of many worlds. The 1,000 supercarriers sailed on, a shining symbol of human courage. Their silent advance was a message to all. Humanity would not be defeated. They stood ready for peace, but they would never back down. The stars shone cold and distant over the Dorian Rift. The great fleets of humanity and the Verix Empire remained face to face, separated by the swirling chaos of gravity storms and debris. Neither side had fired a weapon, but the tension was thick enough to fill the void. Commander Reeve stood on the bridge of the Atlas Dawn, his eyes fixed on the holographic map of the battlefield. The 1,000 supercarriers of humanity were in perfect formation. Their fighters flew in disciplined patterns, ready to defend or attack at a moment's notice. Sir, Lieutenant Harris reported, the Verix fleet is holding position. No signs of aggression. Their sensors show hesitation. Reeve nodded. That hesitation is new. It means they understand the cost of war. We have shown them strength and restraint. Across the vast distance, Empress Kaler's command ship hovered. Above the rift, the Empress sat in her high chair, her face thoughtful. For the first time, she felt a mix of respect and uncertainty about the humans. They are not like other enemies, she said quietly. They fight with heart and unity. It is different. Her generals listened in silence. Some saw this as weakness, but Kaelora knew it was wisdom. Reeve's communication channel opened suddenly. It was a direct link to the Verix flagship. Kaelora's voice came through, steady but less harsh than before. Human Commander Reeve, this standoff has lasted long enough. I offer you a chance to speak directly. Let us find a way to avoid needless bloodshed. Reeve accepted. Empress Kaelora, humanity seeks peace and respect. We are not your enemies, but we will defend ourselves. Let us work toward understanding, rather than war. The two leaders talked for hours. They discussed the history between their peoples, the fears and hopes that had driven their actions. Slowly, a fragile trust began to form. Back on the Atlas Dawn, Reeve felt hope for the first time in months. The war that many feared might be avoided. The galaxy watched closely, sensing the importance of this moment. As talks continued, both fleets held their positions. Pilots and crews waited, ready but hopeful. The silence between the stars was filled with possibility. Finally, Empress Kaelora made a decision. Humanity has shown strength and courage. I will withdraw my fleets from the rift, but this is only the beginning of a new era. We will watch you closely. Reeve replied, we accept this chance for peace. Humanity will prove itself worthy. The Verix fleet slowly turned away, retreating from the dangerous rift. The human armada held formation as the threat faded. Cheers broke out among the crews. The 1,000 supercarriers had stood their ground. On Earth, people celebrated the news. The world united in relief and hope. Though the threat was not gone, a new respect had been born. Commander Reeve looked out at the stars once more. This victory is more than a battle won. It is a promise. Humanity will stand strong and proud among the stars. Empress Kaelora, watching from her ship, nodded quietly. The galaxy had changed. A new chapter had begun. The 1,000 supercarriers began their journey home. They carried with them not just weapons, but the spirit of a people who refused to be pushed aside. Humanity had claimed its place in the universe. And the stars would remember.